So what I'd like to talk about first of all is really, what what is the interest in this? Obviously you've got a lot of people here today, and quite a few of you are using it, as we just saw. So really, why are people interested in this particular topic? Companies are spending lots of money in digital transformation. Okay, and there's a few reasons for that, even before COVID happened. So things around from the World Economic Forum, a worker shortage. Okay, so problems filling manufacturing jobs and a growing skills gap. When you combine that with flexible work models that people want and complexity of product increasing. JP Morgan from their global PMI index, they're looking at that being very low, particularly I think last year based on what happened, and big disruptions to global demand and supply chains. And S&P's 500, they're estimating that about half of today's S&P 500 firms will be replaced over the next 10 years. Okay, so there are all these companies out there that are starting with digital business models, who are competing with traditional sort of industries or traditional companies, and really disrupting things. So do you want to stay where you are and hope that things work out okay for you, or should you be looking at getting on top of that? Okay, so obviously the big event globally was COVID-19. The quote from Jim Helperman, the president CEO from LiveWorks, PTC's big event last year, which was run virtually due to restrictions. So the COVID crisis really showed how digital technology can improve productivity and really accelerate innovation. Okay, by enabling flexibility, agility, and mobility required in the new normal. And really, that's been the key. The key for everyone, right, is adjusting to these new ways of working that have happened over the last year, and how we can cope with the changing situation, which, as we know, particularly in Australia, with border closures, can change on an hourly basis sometimes. So this is probably a question for the existing Windchill users who are here on today's webinar. We've had a lot of feedback ourselves from talking to customers through support and other things that, uh, how they handle the transition to working remotely, sending their engineering teams home to work. But be interesting for feedback on that. For those of you who are using Windchill, what did you see, or how did you see Windchill helping you during COVID? Because as I said, we've had some really good feedback from customers. We obviously were probably about 11 months ago, we spent a lot of time on support, helping people work out how to work remotely, things around licensing, access. I'm sure IT departments were very, very busy setting up VPNs all over the place. Okay, so feel free to vote on this, in terms of what you saw it provided to you. All right. So thank you for those who voted. We'll close that off. So looking at that, one of the big things was around easily access content while working from home. I mean, that was one of the key things we saw. If you've got your files sitting on a network drive somewhere, how do you access them from home? Maybe a VPN can help, but then you've got the second issue of collaboration. If you're sitting in the office next to each other and you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to work on this file now," that's probably easy to do. But when you're all sitting at home, in your garage or your home office, whatever it might be, then that gets a lot harder. Okay. So yeah, look, and that really reflects, I guess, what we saw from our customers, as we're talking to them. It's really good to, I guess, share that with everyone here today. All right. So really, the idea of the digital thread, where does this come from? And it's really around this physical and digital convergence, digitization, digital transformation, whatever you want to call it. And I guess from PTC's perspective, the whole digital and physical is really embedded into their DNA. It's a part of their logo, the logo that PTC announced a few years ago. It's a P and a D for those of you who've never spotted that before. But really what we talk about here is, across the enterprise, you've got your products, you've got your people, the places and the processes that you work with, okay? So from the product side, you're looking to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, maybe optimize the use of those assets and equipment. On the people side, obviously we're looking at a much more mobile workforce and how they can collaborate effectively. From the processes, we're looking at flexibility in efficiency, flexibility in operations and efficiency. And in the places, how do we coordinate that work within spaces and optimize that through our work sites? So if we take those four things and we start to look at the digital organization, so how do companies overcome these particular threats or problems through digital transformation? What's the benefit of doing that? Okay, so within the organization, we've got our different departments generating their different bits of information. Engineering, probably I think what most of the people on today's call, where most people are from, okay, from that department, generating a whole lot of product data. You've got sales and marketing who want to use that information, manufacturing and supply chain, obviously take that information, start producing it, deal with their suppliers. You've got your customer operations and customer service and all the information that they deal with when it comes to the customers. At the corporate level, you're looking at things like, maybe looking to servitize your business model, all sorts of other changes there. So all of those different departments are generating information, and the idea is to really connect that information from both downstream and upstream. And that's where we talk about the digital thread. Okay, so the digital thread is really that those digital masters that we are building in those different areas, and how the information from that flows seamlessly both downstream and upstream to ensure that everyone has got the right information, everyone is connected, that information flows through the organization and gives us that traceability of what's happening. Okay, and the digital thread is a really important part of that digital organization to make sure that you've got that information flow. The other part that I guess enables, which we're not really going to focus on too much in this presentation, is around digital twins. There's a lot of talk about digital twins, and that's really talking about our digital models, ideally in 3D, but not necessarily. That really give us those proxies for connected products and processes. So to help us understand what's happening, for those of you who might have watched Perseverance landing on Mars last week, they were using these digital models from the sensors coming back to show this is where it's at. These are the values that we're getting from the sensors to show in real time, this is what's happening to our device. Well, not quite real time because of the 12-minute delay. Okay. So what PTC is looking at is, okay, how can we build a solution suite to help our customers achieve these digital transformation goals, to have this digital thread, to build these digital twins, okay? So that's really built on PTC solution framework, the products Creo, Windchill, ThingWorx, Vuforia, Onshape, and through partners like Ansys, to enable that technology, okay? Built on cloud platforms, PTC has a very close relationship with Microsoft through Azure, but also can work with AWS as well. So really it's about that suite of software to enable that, okay? And if we look at that in a different way, it's what's the importance of these, okay? So if we start at the bottom, we look at these strategic enterprise systems, okay? So we have all of this source data we run along here. We've got CAD information, we've got bills of materials, we've got simulation, we've got model-based systems engineering, requirements and test, manufacturing, suppliers, customers, we might have stuff coming in from connected products and machines, okay? So there's a lot of this source data. And there are these key systems that help us to manage that. So PLM is a big part of that. It's as we said in the title, it's really the backbone of this sort of work, because there's so much data that gets generated and stored inside that, okay? It gives you that lifecycle management. The big thing with all of this stuff is that if you want to do all of that really fancy, connected products and pulling information through for service and augmented reality and everything else, you really need to have your data and your processes in place and controlled. PTC likes to call it getting your digital house in order, okay, before you can start to do those more advanced things. And PLM is core to that, okay? We've got your other systems as well, your MES systems, ERP, CRM systems. All of those are very important as well. They contain lots of information, okay? But we see a lot of information gets stored, content gets stored inside the PLM system. It's really for managing all of that. Okay, once we've got that, then we can look to extend that information out. We can start to build some context. We can start to look at analytics. We can maybe make things happen based on what's happening inside that. If a change gets released, what do we now do? Do we release bills, materials to suppliers, things like that? And then we can start to build applications based on that. To create our digital twins, our digital manufacturing instructions, our service instructions, those sorts of things, whether that be through AR, web pages, whatever that might be, okay? So particularly these top topics, sort of ThingWorx and Vuforia on that front, We did talk about those. We had a series of webinars that we ran late last year, and I guess how they were on how they were helping customers deal with what's happening with COVID. And I know some of you attended that. If you missed them, you can see them on our product design software blog, where a recap of what we discussed in those particular ones. But really today is the focus on the core of PLM and how that drives that. So PTC has a very broad and deep range of technology platforms that help build that framework. So on the computer design side of things, we're talking about the Creo and Onshape products. I think many of those who are with us today are users of Creo, probably. PLM, which we're going to focus on today through the Windchill suite. On the industrial Internet of Things, we're looking at ThingWorx, and for augmented reality, looking at the Vuforia products. But as I said today, really the focus is going to be on Windchill and product lifecycle management and really what that covers.